Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a lot of things happening. We had Deku and his party members. They have begun to receive additional training from Sir Theodore, and this does mean quite a bit. The man, he was given the ability to give Deku an S rank quest. And while he might have had to try to bleed the members of the council dry for this, he ultimately does know that Deku will get stronger because of it. He had to push his case and even talk to the king, who had to give the final say. He trusts Theodore with this young man's well-being, but the fact that he had a near-death experience recently is their biggest concern. But that is exactly why Theodore wants to push this as much as he can. He knows that Deku gets stronger through combat. He's seen it. And whenever he's punching above his weight class, that is where his abilities truly begin to shine. If not, frighteningly so. The boy has the ability to adapt to certain situations, think on the fly, and improvise. He has talents of a warrior, and that's what does help to make him special, not just his skills nor abilities. And while he does need much improvement in those regards, he's happy to be the teacher who can do that for him. Now, there also was Voss. Voss was called in by Theodore, since the members of his party, they do need help, not just with their physical abilities, but their own mental abilities as well. And that was what they were doing for the last week. Deku and Indra sparred together, and he's been trying to focus primarily on ice magic, along with possibly even improving his understanding of ice and slime magic as well, since these abilities all do rely on one simple thing: water and the temperature difference inside of them. Now, that is something Deku is still working on. Him and Indra also sparred against Theodore, and they were able to take out one of his constructs, and they then took a break. Later they got more training, but Izuku, he eventually called Claire, the witch he does know, for a possible solution for Pyra's problem. But that is something they do need to deal with another time. Since Izuku, him and his party members, they were given 3 different tasks by Theodore. One, they may not be able to go on, because he wants Izuku to do that on his own. But his party members, they were quite terrified because it's an S rank quest. But Theodore, he made them quite aware of something. They'll be dealing with their own situations themselves, and they need more skills if they want to compete with the things Deku will be facing. It will be suicide for them, while for him, he will receive remarkable growth. Indra herself was annoyed at this, but after they took on the B rank quest, they felt sure of themselves. When they took on the A rank quest, that's when things started to get more difficult. Deku, he did level up. He did gain more power. He could feel it. He shot up 3 levels. And right now he does sit at level 84. He put those abilities into what he needed to. Primarily into ice magic and even into his reflexes. Right now, he does want to save them, but Theodore made things quite apparent. Whenever he does take on the S rank quest, he will face more difficulties. And we're closing in on 11 months of Deku's training. These last couple of weeks have definitely shown more improvements. And Izuku, we do have him and Theodore. They're currently flying close to the border of the Empire. And he is trying to go over a lot of things. Still quite intrigued. He doesn't have his typical armor. Right now, he does have a necklace with a protection rune on it, along with, well, his cape. And that's really about it. Theodore told him, the foes he's going to be facing will be able to take out his armor. And right now, he can't rely on magical enchantments. It could be something to use in the future. But for this particular ability, yeah, he's banning armor outright. He knows that it will be hard and tough for Izuku, but he does have faith in him. And that's one thing that does matter. As right now, they do go to look around. And Izuku, they've been flying for a few hours. They've picked up the speed, and he has been quite surprised. Right now, them going to flap their wings and continue. As when Duga come down about an hour later, he does remember the flight, how things were. They passed by some mountains, and he even thought he saw some flying beast. Though, that's another issue. Right now, them coming to land in an area by a river, to which Theodore does get to tell Izuku. This place is a little over the borderline. And right now, they're going to be meeting with some people. Some very interesting people who know they're on their way. Does he understand? I do. But still, what do you think we're going to be doing here? What you're going to be doing here is understanding what we're seeing. Theodore going to turn, making his way down the river and towards the giant mountain, expressing, right now it's over that hill, and what they're going to be doing is simple. He is going to go over that hill and see what he can find. Once he does understand it, then he's going to leave. Izuku, however, is going to need to know. The area inside the mountains does have runes keeping creatures inside. He can get in, but they can't get out. They've been specialized to be there. Once he goes past it, getting out might be a difficult process. What do you mean? The area has been built high. It's been built tough. And once you get in there, you're going to need to make sure you're on guard constantly. One misstep and you could die. Okay, but what about those people? Are they there? Theodore turning, smiling at Deku and telling him. He is fairly certain they are, though whenever he does arrive, they're going to be leaving, and the tower is going to be opened. He's going to need to survive in those woods and take out the queen, since he's fairly certain that horde of spiders is in the thousands. Him flying up into the air, and Izuku does go after the man, who does go to inform him. He's going to need to climb up that mountain and do this barehanded. Do this without magic. Then he can use his abilities. And that, it does annoy Deku. Theodore staring at him and telling him, it's either do that or find a creative way to get up. And he does know he'll find a way. But they'll be long gone by the time he does do so. Smiling and gonna turn, flying up as Deku does run to the mountain. Trying to think. He can use magic to get up in a creative way. Or climb it straight up. What could he do? Okay. The wall gets steeper and steeper. There's coves leading up and... Earth magic? No, he'd expect that. Mine isn't strong enough for... That's too... No. My magic's not that good in that element. But... ice. Maybe I can. And I'm trying to think. And he does see it now. Okay. Bringing his hand up to the wall and going to begin to suck in a breath. Letting out a chilled breath as whenever the ice comes shooting out of his mouth, he does go to cover the side of the wall of the mountain. It shooting up high and beginning to cover that area. And he does keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Before he does a look up, I'm going to do one thing. moving backwards with a burst of air. And he does, gonna move down before sliding forwards quickly, letting a burst of air out and shooting up the wall. Right out Deku doing so at high speeds as he does, gonna start running. Him gonna try and cover the area in front of him with ice. And he does gonna find this to be very fun. Before there is where he does gonna finally slow down and smash his foot down, leaping forwards as he does start to burst into a sprint, running as hard and fast as possible, directly up the side. Before he has a leap up with a final push. Him bringing his hand down and blasting out with wind magic, bursting up higher into the air. Before he does gonna fly past an area where he does start to fall, turning and bringing his hand up. As he does, gonna throw his hand out and create a chain of ice. Him gonna throw it over the side of the alcove and falling down, grabbing the other side and gonna rip himself up on top of it. Before he does, gonna climb onto it and take a breath, or looking up and knowing what he can do. Okay, bring his feet together, focusing as he does begin to feel the magic circle underneath him. It shooting up a pillar of ice and saying to go flying up higher. Him repeating this pattern. When he can, he does actually use momentum. He does try to avoid friction and climb. He even does try to use pillars he can create, and that it does mean a bit. No magic, no skill, or no creativity. He wants him to find another way out of this other than strength. He saw that look on Theodore's face. He knows what it means, and that it does issue a challenge to him. Can he make it up without touching the mountain? Maybe he could. He never said flying wasn't specifically allowed, be it with wings, or, well, just through the air in general. And that Deku does like. A creative way to get up. And while he doesn't have the idea to maybe use Slime as a slingshot, he does want to avoid that right now, since he doesn't want to hit a loose rock. And when he finally does get to the top of the mountain, he does go to walk across, finding this area to be beautiful, turning his head and looking around. He's super high up. The trees are tiny. The river runs for miles and you can even see where it breaks off. Before he's gonna walk over and looking on the other side, watching as the hills around them, they are tall. They're massive. This place looks like a crater hit it so long ago. There's water, there's trees, there's an entire forest. But the way things do look. Him taking another step, and he does immediately feel something strange shoot up his spine. Before, he does have his vision go blurry. And this is accompanied by something popping up in his system, as it will inform him. Right now, he is entering the nest of the giant spider. Would you like to continue? What? Would you like to continue? Would you like to take on this quest? Slay the giant beast and its brood. Except him surprised. Before, remember his vision does get clear, he does go to open his inventory. And finding that he's got a new option. Okay. Quest. Wait, but this isn't a challenge. Him clicking on it. And it does begin to inform him. He does have his first quest. And he'll soon be notified of an event that will take place soon. However, preparations are to be made in order. Him surprised. And he does gotta bring his hand up, going to pull out his crystal as there is where he doesn't hear a sound. Right now Deku's staring at a man. And this is weird. Okay, so that's odd. Evaluation. Deku's staring at him before there is where he does gonna somewhat fall forwards, feeling pain shoot through his eyes. And he does gonna look back up. The man still staying there, walking forwards as he does a crunch to the apple he's eating once again, expressing that would not be a very good idea. He would not try that again. Who are you? Looking up. And right now Deku does have blood pouring from his eyes. The person expressing. They were going to explain that, but he decided to use that ability of his. Do you work for the Demon Lord? Him going to reach out a hand and being pulled back to his feet. I do not. But I will tell you right now. That is not what I do. I believe you know your methods. Your feelings about things. We all have been watching you heroes quite carefully. Deku's staring at him. Udam. You're a deity. Again? But I don't understand. Yes, I do not believe you do. That is why I'm here. These woods, they lay in wait. Powerful creatures wish to escape, and these runes were casted long ago. I do not believe that they will last for another century. So I do wish you to be thorough in your examination here. Izuku, you are going to need to kill everything you find in this room, in those ruins. If these runes are allowed to be deactivated, this prison will have escapees. I understand. Yes, you do. You are quite interesting. The man staring at Izuku, bringing up his hand and telling him, can he count on him to eliminate everything here? The creature that does dwell here, it is old, and it has lived for a long time. It may be a challenge to him. It may even be able to kill him. But he will persevere. He needs to understand. This world has seen many monsters, but the thing down there serves a darker purpose. It serves something dark. I get it. I do hope so. Young man, Nuva has spoken highly of you. And I do even believe that Eris, she has seen your own achievements as well. Radis was correct to choose you. But I do have my own skepticism. You do understand. I do. But I don't understand. I keep... Do you know what's happening here? I mean, I was nearly killed not too long ago, and that's another issue I'm having. Your heart is heavy with burden. Yes, it is. Can you tell me anything at all I can use that can be helpful? Yes, I can. I am aware of many of your abilities, hero. I may offer you one form of aid, but it is all I may offer at this time. Nature is your ally here. Can you understand that? Your abilities are great, yes, but they do have limits in some forms. How so? That is simply it. They have limits in many forms. Do not rely solely on one power, Izuku. That may get you killed here. But Sir Theodore told me to take this thing on. And if what you're saying is true, then what he's saying is wrong, then I don't know what to believe. Do you trust me? No. To be honest, I really don't. You are skeptical. I am. I do not mean to be rude. You are not being rude. You simply do not know who I am, and I did just injure you by mistake. Yeah, that might be a good reason for it. But I have questions. As such, what do you mean? Your amulet. Uh, which one? Deku bring his inventory up, and he does feel like an idiot, realizing he's talking to a god of nature, pulling out the amulet that does have the curse on it, expressing, "This? Yes. Now, what do you think that exactly does do?" "It gives me a connection to nature, allows me to use the power of Earth. I guess the power of what the Earth does provide. Yes. Now, bind it to you, and with all your might, destroy the sigil. But it is cursed. The sigil does hold you back in many forms and regards. It is adapted to you. It used to be a bracelet, remember?" "I see. Right, but nothing. That is all the aid I may provide. Very soon you will run into troubles, hero, and when you do, I hope you are prepared. Be wary. Creatures there may scorch the earth." The man disappearing before his eyes. And this, it does make Deku feel odd, as magic in the area does begin to return to normal. It doesn't feel like it's being sucked into a void. And that definitely does confuse him. He pulled out the crystal. But wait, is that a sign not to call them? He just ran into another deity and he just took on an S rank quest. Right, right. Okay. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Maybe. But maybe he should sit here for a second. Make camp on the mountain top and go down tomorrow. He'd expended about a third of his mana. And that was just getting here and flying here. Okay, he'll have to observe the forest tomorrow. Find the ruins and do this. He's got a while. Get into the area and know the landscape. And this is what Deku, he does begin to do. Him putting this amulet back on and feeling it begin to bind to him. However, he doesn't bring his hand up, grabbing onto the sigil and beginning to pull. The necklace, however, it does begin to try and tighten. And Izuku, he does find that whenever he does it to break the sigil, it does begin to smash down to pieces. Him feeling magic be released and feeling like he may have done something wrong. However, the sigil parts, they do begin to glow. And when that glow does a fly back towards Deku and go into his body, he does understand. Right now, him still wearing the cord connected from the amulet. And it does still make up of the components of strange looking metal and wood. And he does go to sit here, thinking of a few more things, as whenever night does come, he does try to observe the forest, see exactly what might be inside before he does fall asleep in his tent. And this is good. Him making his way down into the area tomorrow morning. And over the course of the next couple of days, Deku does begin to observe. He does begin to try and see what this area is like. If this is a prison, it's the most beautiful prison he's ever seen. I mean, yeah, it's a bit creepy, but still. He hasn't seen any wolves, any elk, anything. The forest is vibrant and beautiful, and there's a large fish in the lake nearby. And they're certainly quite deep. And this, it is something that Deku has noticed. Right now, him thinking about exactly what might happen. But then he started to hear a sound. Him looking down and finding that there is something on the ground, bending down and seeing the tracks of some creatures. Before he's to fly up into the air and try to see what he can. Him eventually finding the tower and seeing that it is collapsed. And that certainly does mean something. Trying to think about how to deal with this. Open it up and head inside is an obvious option. Though he does need to think. Bring his hand up, as he does begin to pull some of the earth apart. And when the rocks begin to float into the air, Deku does move them nearby. Eventually, hearing sounds as when he was to open up a passageway large enough for himself, he is to bring his hands up and snap his fingers. Dazzling lights begin to appear down the corridor. And he does try to think. Right now, bringing his hands up, I'm going to clap. Hearing the sound echo down the corridor for a long distance. Not hearing anything. And this, it is the official first day of Izuku, his exploration. Him walking down the corridor and trying to find more about this area. Find more about this place. But the creature that does lie below, it is told one simple thing through the web. The door is open, and its children can be free. And that is something it does immediately take great joy in. For centuries, they have lied dormant, but now their freedom may have just been assured by some fool. And this, it does stir quite well. But now their mandibles going to click with joy. And this, it's where the spiders are sent at Deku. Whenever he first encountered them, he was alarmed, quite horrified, especially whenever he saw something as large as a dog. And this, it did have him worried. Him blasting it with ice magic and punching it away. And this, it became part of Deku's routine. He would use evaluation, try and see exactly what he was dealing with. And these creatures, yeah, they ranged all the way up from level 60 to about level 30. And this, it definitely gave him a bit of problems. However, punching through them after blasting them with ice quickly became something he started to do daily. And after he tried to clear the first level, he went down to the second, where he began to encounter a bit more trouble. Him being overwhelmed by numbers and having to cover the room entirely in ice. And that, it did annoy him. As there was where Deku, he had this routine go on for a few days. He tried to go lower and lower in this tower, and he would break through and destroy what he could of spiders. But there began to get a bit of a problem. He can't use his weapon. And punching through that ice, it has begun to make his hands hurt a bit. But he does continue on. He doesn't have bracers, he doesn't have something to protect his knuckles. And the skin there, it does definitely have bruises. And this is where more and more were sent after him. Deku, he spent the next 8 hours trying to clear the dungeon. And it was brutal. Whenever he finally got down to the 5th floor, he thought he'd made more progress. They seemed to be thinning out. But the rooms got bigger. The areas got wider. And yeah, there was where he came upon the first cavern, discovering potentially thousands of these creatures there. And whenever he tried to cover the floor in ice, it did not do much. It slowed them down, but some of those things came flying through the air, coming at him, and some came crawling through the ceiling. Him trying to be careful and avoiding webs whenever he could. But that became another problem. After taking out about half the room, he went in retreat for the day, finding that he is getting more powerful with ice magic. But finding that these creatures, they just don't stop pouring out at him. He can seal a corridor, but they'll find a way through. He'll seal a wall, but they'll find a way through. And eventually, he had to wall off the first floor. Him closing off an exit and trying to think about how to proceed. Him looking at his hands and going to heal them. It was difficult. After the first week, Deku, he felt like this might have been a bigger challenge than possible. As something potentially beyond his ability. After the first week, he leveled up a lot. He went to 86, then 87, then 88 and 89. And by the end of the second week, Izuku, he's made his way down to the 7th floor. He's killed hundreds, maybe thousands of these things. And he has reached level 90. Right now, him standing there in a room. And he does look around, seeing much of what happened here. The notification came and he was distracted. He took a bite from this monster and it was stronger than the others. And he has a good reason as to why. This thing is huge and massive. It's the size of a damn truck. Him staring at his arm. As his eye turned, using healing magic on himself and trying to walk away. His poison tolerance is high. But he's being worn down by these things. Every day it's a challenge. Which one of them will take each other out first? Will they get lucky and take him down, or will he go swinging? It's something else. The creatures here, he can understand why they're dangerous now. They are relentless. They are willing to kill and eat anything that gets in their way. He found evidence they've even been eating each other down here. And that it's a nasty bit of business. Currently, Deku back at his campsite on the surface. And he does it a turn, looking at the large slab of metal, that large slab of stone, he does have slapped over the entrance, wishing it was a large slab of metal like a vault door, something that you'd use in a bank. Hell, something that you could put there and just forget about. But it isn't. Those things have tried breaking through that wall. There's something down there. Something intelligent. They gave up on it, not realizing how close they were to breaking free. The woods up here are certainly something. Him bring up his left arm, seeing the area where he was bitten. And this, it does annoy him. Currently, Deku's sitting there and still feeling this poison running its course through his veins. He's gonna deal with something powerful down there. And he can't afford to waste many of these potions. He already tried to heal himself. And if that didn't work, then it does mean trouble for him. Currently, him going to bring his hand up and going to use woodland magic. As right now, he does going to have the pieces of wood fall down onto the campfire, trying to think about exactly his next step. A minor potion won't work. A medium one? Maybe. Or maybe he can increase his healing magic. He does have the points. He's got 30 of them. And healing magic, it only requires 2. Bring it up to what? 24? 25? Maybe. His abilities have been getting better down there, but that's another problem. He needs to know the limit of all his abilities. In ice, it might be the one he has to max out. But that's another issue. If he does max it out, then there is the problem that he'll need to try and recalculate himself. If he does improve that magic, it's going to get more difficult at first. Okay. He has to spend these damn points. Him going to lean against the tree he's close to and taking in shallow breaths, trying to think of a way to cure himself of this poison before he does waste a potion. And right now, Deku, he does go to bring his hand up, trying to heal himself once again, but only feeling a temporary release of this pain and the tightening in his chest. Right now, him trying to go over it in his mind. Okay, I'll have to bite the bullet and find a skill. Maybe you can find one that's good. This on his mind. As right now, Deku, he does go to take a medium potion and drink it down. It going to help alleviate the poison in his body. However, the moment of reprieve, it does going to come back a few minutes later. If he didn't have a high poison tolerance, he might have died from this already. His body is fighting back, and he does going to get the notification about his poison resistance going up to level 14. And that, it definitely is good for Deku. Right now, him thinking about what exactly to do. As looking to the store for the skills, he does go to watch them. Thinking about it. There is one interesting skill here. Regeneration. It is a rare ability, and it can be improved over time. But there is one issue. It costs about 50 points. And there are also a challenge you can complete to unlock the ability. Doing the challenge could be dangerous, but he's well on his way to doing it already. Near-death experiences are not uncommon to him. And right now, a few more of those and he'll unlock the ability. But yeah, that's another thing. 20 near-death experiences, they're not exactly things he wants to do. Having a few more of those close calls is bad. Pay for the skill or do the challenge? You tell me about that. Okay. I'll have to sleep on that one. Just level up 4 more times and then make the decision. This passed through his head. And we do have, towards the end of the 3rd week, Izuku, he has done a lot more, made more progress, gone further down the dungeon, and has been battling it off against these large creatures. Right now, him close to level 95, and he does go to fly around the room, turning and bringing his hand up, going to blast out shards of needles through his hand, and he does create magic sizzles all across the sky in this cavern. Right now, giant spiders going to scream out and roar, many of them covering the ground as they do try to avoid their brethren who've been coated in ice. Some going up the walls as some are shooting poison at Deku. Him going to bring his hands up and cover himself in spiritual armor. As whenever he does a fly around one, he does a take a blast to the wing. Him going to deconstruct the wing as he has a turn. Going to flap his wing and send out shards of ice directly at the ones on the wall. Him hearing a sound and turning, bringing his hand up and punching through a spider that does come right at him. Him going to turn and chuck it towards the ground. Where's that turn looking down? Bring his hands up and going to wave his hands up. Going to freeze the area around him as he does begin to watch the cold steam begin to flow around the crystals. And this does mean a bit. They go blast them down as the room does shake violently with the sound and the sheer force of these things hitting the ground. And this does mean a lot. Deku going to bring his hands up and create smaller and smaller needles, smaller and smaller shards of ice to cut into their exoskeletons. And he does go a little rabid with this. As right now, he does going to make his way down into the third area, trying to think about what to do. The other two areas, they were full of spiders. Go figure. But this one, it does have a place to go down. And the doors, the corridors, keep getting wider and wider. These things are overwhelming him. And it's not good. One, going to rush forwards and leap at Deku. Bring his hand up and going to hold his finger out. The creature not getting close to Deku, as he does, keep his finger up. And there is where the beam of ice that he shot from his hand, it does sit there. Him lowering his finger as the needle does go through its skull. It clattering down to the ground as Deku does make his way past. Thinking about it, it's been one hell of a week. These days are all beginning to morph together, all beginning to get more and more strange to track. Has he been down here for 6 days? 7? Maybe not. Constantly fighting, constantly being on guard, constantly retreating. He doesn't like this system for battle. Yeah, going into retreat is good. But this is like dungeon diving without clearing the dungeon. It's not something he likes to do. He's just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that does worry him. Can he actually clear the damn dungeon? How far down does it go? That's on his mind. As Rory does finally make his way down further and further and further, he does come to an area. It's spreading wide and open. Him seeing the webs that do to line the floor. Bring his hand up as he does begin to chill the room's temperature by waving his hand. And right now, he does go watch things cool down. Before he does bring his hand up and grab one of the webs. It cling to his hand as he does begin to freeze it over. It getting colder, colder, and colder. Before it get brittle, and Izuku does pull his hand away and step through. As if this was a very cheap and brittle piece of glass. Him making his way into the room and seeing a ton of spiders. Right now, him going to look up and see the thing that does it catch his attention. As a system, immediately tells him about a double XP event. And he does look up at a giant spider, seeing the web that does stretch large and wide. And this thing sitting there, the large monstrosity, it's as large as 2 giant buses strapped together. Its face, it's gotta be as big as a fucking car. And he does a stare at that thing. His jaw going to open as the giant wolf spiders, they do go running directly at him. Deku looking down and seeing that these ones are incredibly fast. And he does bring his hand up. Him going to have magic circles from around him. As he does send a blast of spheres. One of the spears going to fly out and crash into one of their legs. It roaring out and screaming in pain. As Deku, he does going to break the shards up in that one. Them exploding and causing more to begin flying around and into the other spiders. Them going to leap through the air as Deku does see that one. Bringing his hand up as he does bring it down and then turn. Pulling it up as there is where a giant iceberg does come shooting up from the ground. The spike smashing into its side and ripping through its large body. Its legs flailing out and trying to reach for him. Him taking a step backwards and going to bring his right hand up. Him going for a kill shot with a large spike. The spear going to crash through it as it does, going to have his body go limp. Deku going to go to do one thing, going to lower himself down to the ground and blasting out ice around the ground. Before there is where a spider, it does go to rush towards him and go to leap, trying to use its arms to grab him, want to stab into him for what it's done to its kin. And he does do one thing. He does go throw his hands down as he does go low, sliding underneath it and bringing his hand up, grabbing it by its arm and going to cover it in ice, turning and spinning, bringing his hand up and going to grab it by its large backside. Before he does go to cover it in ice and turn, the creature trying to turn and grab Deku. However, he does go to grab it and then go to do one simple thing. He does go to pull. Right now the creature roaring out in pain as it is picked up through the air and crashed into its brethren. And this, it does go causing the ice to break and this thing's body to give way. And it is mortally wounded. Deku turning as some of the other wolf spiders do come at him. And he does bring his hands up again, creating massive amounts of shards of ice and going to send some of them flying forwards. The cavern shaking with this as the creature above does watch on the show. It seeing a mortal do something it hasn't seen in eons. Something impressive. And it does watch this little ape go to attack. And Izuku does begin to receive notifications. Him ignoring them for the moment. As right now, he can fall back and retreat and then come back to deal with this thing. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. Evaluation. It not doing anything at all. And this is good. Deku going to bring his hand up as he does go do one thing. He has a spin. Bring his hand out as he does go to shoot another beam of ice crashing into a spider's skull. It roaring out in pain and trying to go to bring its arms up. Trying to bash into the ice with its sharpened talons and go to do something. And he's going to go rushing forwards. Him sliding underneath and bringing his hand down, touching the floor and going to raise it up. A sharp pillar going to shoot up from the ground and into its legs. It breaking apart multiple limbs and killing the creature. Him going to stand up and turn. Right now him sucking in breath and trying to think. He does feel tired. He definitely wants to just go home and do something else. Right now this, however, has helped a bit. Dark vision. It's been a useful skill. But should he try dazzling flames? Maybe. Switch to another element. Switch to something. Do something else. Then on his mind, him going to step forwards as the creatures do stare at the human. Him in his heavy mage armor to their perception. And Izuku, he does just stand there. Right now his face being covered by the armor as he does go to hold up his hands. Them turning into a deeper blue color and emitting with steam. And they do to watch on. Him holding up his fingers as he does mean to shoot them directly at them. And the icicles do go crashing into some of these monsters. Them going to rush at Deku, thinking that he might be losing power. However, he doesn't bring his hand up. Him shooting a beam of ice out, and it does a blasting out before it does a smash into one of them. It going to crash into the ground and then being to freeze over. Them running into the field and getting frozen. And this does mean a bit. Deku turning up to the creature and looking around the cavern, being informed of other things as well. And this, it does go to tell Deku one thing. He has been doing good. He's done a lot. And right now he does a look up at the massive spider. And it does go to look down on the human. Him looking around again. It's the only one left. Right now he's at 97. Okay, he just reached that level. This thing though now, it's going to be a problem. But he's got it. He's got it. Okay. But what more could he do? Right. With all of his available skills, can he do it? Can he win? He's only got a third of the magic he has left, and he's looking up at this creature. Maybe he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew. But, okay, let's see. Him, seeing that with his level ups, he has gained more mana. A little more than a third then. He's got maybe 40% left. That's the ultimate thing right now. He's not out of the fight yet. He's not down. He's not out. He will survive. And whenever he does have this thought, he does get a feel spirit boost. It currently going to level up to level 6. And that does mean a bit. Right now, him staring with the creature and roaring out his challenge. And this thing, it does look down at the mortal. It covered in this strange aura as it does get brighter and brighter, turning into a deeper blue color. And right now, Deku, he does begin to hear it speak. As whenever it does so, he does get to feel this thing in his mind, almost like it's crawling, and that thought heavily disturbs him. Him physically recoiling at this information that is going to flood him. And it does express, how many eons has it been since a mortal has come to their lair? Has the surface finally been cleared for them to go? Him staring at the creature, and it doesn't expect a response. It, happy, its plans can finally come to bear. It will start over. It will simply break through the surface when it can. The words will be a problem, but it will get through them. It will find a way. It will call out to its master, and hopefully, this time it will answer. The fact that a human is down here means something. It means something simple. They were close. They're not as far down as they were led to believe. It may be a problem, but going up is their only solution at the moment. And this does mean a bit. Right now, Deku looking up at the creature, and it does get the surprise of its life when Deku does respond back in the primordial tongue. Its plans won't come to bear. He was tasked with taking it down. A human capable of speaking my tongue. Now that is something quite interesting. Perhaps you are powerful. Not as powerful as you do think you are. Yeah, I know. I'm not. You're well within my weight class. I know what you are. Do you know? Yes, you do. I see it in that expression of yours. Him staring on. And right now, Deku, he is buying time, as he does get to advance his ice magic to level 50. And it only leaves him with 5 points left to spare. As right now he does get to watch ice magic max out. And whenever it does get to hit that 50 mark, he does get to feel a surge of magic flood through him. Him going to have his hands begin to be covered in frost. For it does disappear, and he does stare at it. We're now thinking about what this does mean. And he does go to get a reward from a challenge. Him looking at the creature and staring, as it does stare down at the little human in front of him, curious about what that was. As Deku does get to hold up his hands, informing it, as pillars of ice around him do be created. Magic sigils do get to form all around them, and he does stare at it. Then now, it's time they end this. Him blasting out the ice as it also flying up. Deku watches the creature does a shoot webs at the ice, it going to knock away some and spitting acid at others. Before he does it'll watch on. It going to leap from its web as it does take the attacks. Him watching on as it does try to avoid what it can but tank what it can't. And he doesn't watch how powerful that creature is. Him staring at that. Right now it crashing down into the floor does begin to shake. Him watching as its talons do a cut through the ice he laid around the battlefield. And it does effortlessly stab through its own children, taking down others who may have lingered. And that does definitely mean a bit. Deku needs to form a plan to take this thing out quickly. It is stuck down here, right? It needs to die. He has an idea, but he needs to ensure this thing is down. He has full control over ice magic. It is finished. He needs to take out the legs and then work on the large body of it. What is it, spinneret? The thing that makes all the webs for its butt. That's what he's got to focus on. This making him somewhat laugh in his mind. As right now, he does go to hold up his hands. His spiritual armor going to roar out. As his spirit ability does go rushing forwards as Deku, he does go to the right. It going to the left as Deku, he does go to watch one fly forwards. This gave him a moment of pause, watching his two constructs are in this battle with him. And that does do him some good. Thinking about what he can do. And right now, he does go to pull more of his power from him, feeling it dwell. And he does go to watch as a third one does go flying out of him forward. Him going to feel this power as it does still roar. His aura does get to disperse a bit. However, his armor, it does go back to its normal setting. Him feeling that exhaustion begin to creep in. However, his will for battle does continue. The spider, quite alarmed at these constructs, they do begin to gather around its feet, it trying to crash and attack them. However, finding that they are quite powerful. And while they do go from below, Deku, he does not fly above, bringing his hand up as the spears do go crashing into the side of his body, it turning and going to try and flail one of its large arms. Deku almost being hit by the log of a leg. And he does go up, watching the creature as he make a giant glacier. Him going to watch and going to make it more of a cone shape. For the creature, it does a look up. Deku seeing this thing crashing as the spider does launch itself away. It going to do so with a lot of speed and smash towards the wall, flying towards Deku as he does a turn. It shooting webs towards him. Him bringing his hands up and going to create the barrier. Him creating it out of ice as the creature does smash into it and he does get forced against the wall. The barrier protecting him from being stuck from ice going to manifest and cover him. As he does go to sink into the wall. Before Deku, he does try to think of a plan. Trying to think about how to handle this. Break the rule? No. He needs to figure this out. Him going to step forwards into the wall and create armor from ice. And this, it does allow him to step forwards and bring his hand up, beginning to fire ice from his wrist as if it was a Gatling gun. And the creature does get a watch on. Deku aiming for one of its large eyes and crashing a needle into it. It being covers the creature's roar out. And Izuku, he does try to think. He needs to get better with water. This ability is good. He's understanding more and more. And he does find the thrill of battle overwhelming him. As right now, he is rushing forwards with a clear target in mind. As the creature, it does take damage in the leg as the three constructs do smash into it. And Izuku does mentally order all three of them to disperse. And that is where these things go flying apart. One to the right, one to the left, and one does go up. The creature turning and watching as he does go smash this thing directly into the wall, waiting for something to happen. And Izuku does feel the mental recoil as he does come crashing down onto its face. Him going to pierce into its eye with one of the shards, he does turn into a weapon. And whenever he does go to pull back, the creature just start to roar out. The moment it goes to back away, it does start to blast out webs towards him. The goo trying to cover him. The Izuku, he does a swing his weapon up and go to begin freezing it. Him freezing it in the air as the creature, it does get a mouthful of frozen webs. Whenever the string does get freeze back to its mouth. And this does mean a bit. One of the constructs coming down, smashing onto this thing's body. It beginning to roar out in pain and agony. As Deku, he has to bring his hands up, going to create areas around it covered in ice. And he does start to bombard it from every side with his remaining magic. The creature watching on and beginning to scream at Deku, roar out at him. Does he really think this will work? It has lived for millennia. It will endure. It will create a new hive. It will find a new home. This cavern cannot conceal it forever. It will call upon its master when it's on the surface. It will. Deku bring his hand up and then going to pull down, expressing with one single word, Glacier Strike. And it does a watch. Whenever it does a look up, unable to move as it does look back down. It being crushed on the head by a giant glacier. And Izuku, he does go to watch that. It smashing its body to the ground as he's rushing forwards. Him going to begin running around and trying to slice into the legs. Him going to smash his fist down into one and going to find his hand burning up. Before he does begin to freeze the liquid in its body. And he does a pull his arm back as a construct does a punch. Him watching that. Two constructs beginning to punch into this thing and going to freeze part of its leg. They go staring at that. Watching as one does go to help Izuku. It flying to him and covering him back in his heavy armor, pulling his fist back and smashing into the leg, damaging it. And the creatures will roar out. As he does understand. Right now him flying back up into the air, coming up high and thinking. He only has one shot. After this, he may be out of magic. So he'll definitely make this count. Bringing his hands together and muttering an incantation under his breath. As he does express, ice be his will. Ice be what he does use. Manipulate and bend and spin. Bringing his hand up and going to turn his hand as the wind does begin to move. And the ice particles do to form into a drill. Izuku going to grab this construct and then go to fly backwards, finding the ceiling and going to fly down at top speeds. The creature trying to use its remaining good legs to move. However, the target is already on point. Izuku crashing down with a giant lance cone directly into this thing's body, stabbing through its carapace and going to punch through its exoskeleton. There. Punching through its exoskeleton and going to strike into its body. Him finding its way down further. And he does begin to freeze everything around him. And the creature does roar out, screaming out and trying to plead to something. Its pleas falling on deaf ears. As right now, it does a freeze over and stop. Deku going to sit there for a minute, trying to think about this battle. 3 long weeks on this journey. 3 long weeks it has taken to do this, to finally win. And right now, he does get a notification from his system about a few things. And he does go to smile. As right now, there is where his constructs, they do go to cover him. Him being punched out of the thing's body. And whenever Izuku does find himself holding onto his arms, he does feel sore. Every muscle in his body feels cold. And he does feel victorious. Turning back and hearing a sound. Before, he has a stare at this thing's body and he's aware. He'll have to collapse the dungeon. That or find out soon enough whether or not these things are on the surface. He barred the door on his way in. He bars it on his way out. As the only time he uses his flame. It's not a bad idea, but there's something here he needs to know. Turning and going to do one thing, setting a pulse of search magic through the dungeon, and that's where he does gonna find nothing, at least for the few levels leading up. Him going to walk over to a wall and sit down, sucking in a breath and letting it out. He's gonna need a few minutes to just recover. Afterwards, he can take a potion and leave. Hell. His hands are cold as hell. He did it though. Him laughing out. He actually freaking did it. He did it, he did it, he did it. And right now Deku, he does rest here. Eventually taking a potion to improve his health. And finding that he does now need a stamina potion, along with maybe a mana potion. And those, yeah, he doesn't have the strong ones, but he definitely has something that will get him by. And after he does go walking through the dungeon, he does make sure it's cleared, using what he can of his remaining power. And he does eventually come walking up to the surface, bringing his hand up and beginning to burn through the wall with fire magic. It means a lot. He mastered an ability today. He took out a large creature of S rank, and he's fairly certain he is over rank 100. The challenge is the notification when he mastered the ability. I mean, all of it. He's got to be on the verge of leveling up, right? 99 at the very least. He's going to be really annoyed if he's just not there. The fight of his damn life, too. This is in his mind. And there is where Deku, he does come stepping out. Someone going to greet him. It's dark. And it's something else. He's surprised. Who are you? The person's standing there. As they do, go to silently turn and see him. Standing up and going to bow their heads. Izuku staring at the glowing red eyes. Shit. Bring his hands up. And they do go to stop him, expressing to wait. A vampire. It had to be a fucking vampire. I do not wish you harm. Bullshit. Last time I faced one of you, I was nearly killed. I have almost been killed a lot. And I know enemies. Are you the one who's been following me? Yes. There is good reason. Her stepping forward, and Izuku does get the surprise of his life. The same damn vampire who attacked him. Shit. Why are you here? Your blood is unique. It is hard to explain. Nothing is working. I wish to... Her staring at him, for falling to a knee and expressing. She wishes to get more. What? Him surprised. Before he does it, finally do something he needs to do. Manifesting his weapon and holding up his sword. And the vampire does look back up, seeing that weapon in his hand. And it does slightly terrify her. He has a weapon that can kill her with ease. And he is approaching her. She was wary of this idea, concerned about it, intimidated and scared of it even. But right now he does go to stand in front of her, watching her body language, watching the way she's moving and acting. She's Afraid. Are you scared of me? Yes. I knew our last encounter was not on good terms, as enemies. But please, I am willing to submit myself to a Aegeus, if I may have your blood. A Aegeus? Yes. You may write the terms. We may even perform a ritual of the old way. Your power is great, and I wish to serve you. Deku's staring at this. Aegeus. She wants to serve him. Wait, like a familiar? No, wait, Aegeus is where you want to be under Aegeus? You would not trust me. I know that already. Her looking up. In her face, it does show something Deku he's seen before. A hungry animal. And that seems bad. She's here for food. Here for his blood. And that deeply does disturb him. So he can make a deal with her and give her blood and she'll serve him, or how would that work? Please, you don't understand. Your normal blood isn't working anymore. No matter how much I feast or the hunger remains. Really? Yes. If you wish it to be so, then kill me now. I know I probably deserve it. Probably? You nearly murdered someone I loved. Wasn't it your master who sliced off my arm? Your hand. Him staring at her. Before he does go to being pouring with spirit magic. And she does go look down, realizing that this may have been the biggest mistake she's ever made. And it may be the last. She wanted to meet him. Talk this out? Discuss it. He's a hero. But she may not have found this to work. Bad idea? Perhaps it was. Her raising her head and closing her eyes, exposing her neck to him. And this, Deku does see, as he does going to tell her. Oh, what is she doing? If you're going to slay me, slay me. Make it quick, this hunger is unbearable. Okay then. Listen, I need some time to think about this. Think about it? Yeah, I'm tired, hungry myself, and it's been a rough couple of days. Yeah, a couple of days, I think. It's night, so yeah, I've been down there since this morning. What time is it? The moons will go down soon. The sun will rise in 2 hours. I've been down there for almost a full day. Right. Okay then. Listen, I don't know anything about this world and I need to learn a lot more. Leave. If you've been following me, then you know where I'll be. But if you do approach me as an enemy, I will slay you. Her nodding her head. And Deku, he does try to think. She'll probably attack someone nearby. Attack a village. Try to satisfy that hunger of hers. He's heard about vampire cravings before. He did look into them. Along with werewolf cravings. and some of the other monsters that do exist. Before he does do one thing. He does it a sigh, bringing his hand up and going to manifest the empty bottle he got earlier. Before he does go to bring his hand down and go to use spirit, slicing into his palm and going to begin filling this with a small bit of his blood. And she does immediately stop, sniffing the air and turning. As Izuku, he does go to squeeze the blood from his palm into the bottle. Him going to walk over and hand it to her, telling her not to attack anybody. He'll try to figure this out. And she does go stare at the bottle, not even listening to his own words. Him turning back and trying to think. Now he's going to leave. Okay, so the kingdom is that way. Him going to fly up into the air with spirit as his wings are larger. They definitely do have a bigger span to them. And he does find that his speed has greatly increased. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part. I gotta make sure I didn't bite my tongue on that last word.